My beloved child, pause here for a moment, because what you are about to hear was meant to find you before another night passes in silence. Do not move away from this message too quickly. Something happened last night that your eyes did not witness, yet your spirit may already have felt it. While you were trying to quiet your thoughts, while you were wondering whether this connection still mattered to the one your heart cannot easily forget, your soulmate was sitting with someone they trusted. And tears began to fall when your age was mentioned. But those tears were not what anyone expected. They were not tears of embarrassment. They were not tears of disappointment. They were not tears because your age made them want to turn away. The truth is far more emotional, far more complicated, and far more revealing than that. Your soulmate cried because the thought of time passing without you suddenly became unbearable. Something their friend said opened a door inside them that they had kept tightly closed, and once that door opened, they could no longer pretend that their feelings were small. Stay here, because the words they spoke after those tears began could change the way you understand every silence, every delay, and every confusing moment between you. For some time, your soulmate has been carrying a concern they did not know how to explain. They have looked at your age, their age, the distance between your experiences, or perhaps simply the stage of life in which each of you stands, and they have wondered whether time itself was working against this connection. They did not fear your number. They feared losing the chance to love you properly before too much time disappeared. Last night, that fear finally escaped their heart. It began quietly. Their friend had noticed that something was different. Your soulmate was distracted, answering questions slowly, staring at their phone without opening any messages. The room around them was ordinary, but inside their chest, everything was moving. Your name had already been mentioned once, then avoided. Their friend could sense that the conversation was circling around something deeper. Then came the question that broke the calm. Their friend asked, "Why does their age matter so much to you?" Your soulmate tried to smile. They tried to dismiss it. They said it was nothing, that they were only thinking too much, that perhaps the timing was complicated. But their voice changed. Their eyes lowered. Their hands became still. And in that instant, their friend understood that this was not about age in the way people might assume. It was about fear. It was about regret. It was about the possibility that your soulmate had waited too long to become honest. Do not skip this moment, because the next thing they confessed was something they had never allowed themselves to say aloud before. They told their friend, "I am not crying because of how old they are. I am crying because I suddenly realized how much of their life I have already missed." Those words were followed by silence. A silence so heavy that even their friend did not interrupt it. Your soulmate was thinking about the years before you met, the seasons in which you endured things without them, the birthdays when they were not beside you, the moments when you needed comfort and they did not yet know your name. They imagined all the versions of you that existed before this connection began, the younger you, the hopeful you, the wounded you, the version of you who learned to survive disappointment without asking anyone to rescue you. And they cried because they wished they could have known you sooner. They wished they could have protected the softness that life forced you to hide. They wished they could have stood beside you when you were questioning your worth. They wished they could return to the moments when someone made you feel unchosen and tell you that your story had not ended there. My child, your soulmate's tears were not directed at your age. They were directed at time itself. They were grieving the time they could not recover. Yet there was something else hidden underneath those tears. Something even their friend did not understand at first. Your soulmate has been afraid that you may believe they see your age as a barrier. Perhaps you have noticed a hesitation in their behavior. Perhaps they pulled back when things began to feel serious. Perhaps they said something careless, avoided a conversation, or allowed another person's opinion to make them uncertain. From your side, it may have looked as though they were judging you. But heaven saw the deeper truth. They were not judging you. They were judging themselves. They were asking whether they were mature enough to honor what you carry. They were wondering whether they could meet you at the depth your life has created within you. They sensed that you have lived through experiences that changed you, and they feared approaching your heart carelessly. Your strength attracted them, but it also made them aware of every place in themselves that still needed healing. This is why their behavior has felt inconsistent. One moment, they wanted to move closer. The next, they became quiet. One day, they imagined a future with you. The next, they questioned whether they deserved a place in it. Their hesitation was never proof that you were not enough. It was evidence that the connection felt important enough to expose every insecurity they had hidden. Last night, their friend challenged them. Their friend said, "You keep talking as though time has already decided the ending. What if the only thing standing between you and this person is your fear?" Those words reached a place inside your soulmate that no gentle reassurance had reached before. Their tears became stronger. They turned away, but they could not hide what was happening. Their friend had never seen them react this way to anyone. They had spoken about past connections before without this kind of emotion. They had described disappointment, attraction, even heartbreak, but never with the trembling honesty that appeared when they spoke about you. Then your soulmate said something that surprised even them. They said, "I do not want them to think I am ashamed of them. I am afraid they will believe I wasted their time." That confession changed the entire conversation. Your soulmate has been carrying guilt. They know there were moments when they should have communicated more clearly. They know their silence may have made you question whether you mattered. They know they have allowed confusion to remain where honesty should have been. And now, when they think about your age, they do not see a reason to leave. They see a reminder that life is too precious to spend hiding love behind uncertainty. Something awakened in them last night. Not panic, but clarity. Not pressure, but purpose. They began to understand that love is not measured by whether two people arrived at the same lesson at the same time. Love is measured by whether they are willing to meet each other honestly when their paths finally cross. Your soulmate realized that the years you have lived are not something to fear. They are part of what shaped the person they cannot stop thinking about. Your age carries stories. It carries wisdom. It carries survival. It carries laughter that returned after sorrow. It carries lessons you paid for with tears no one saw. And last night, your soulmate finally recognized that loving you means honoring every year that formed your heart. But there was a more personal reason behind their emotion, and this is where the revelation becomes even deeper. Your soulmate has imagined growing older with you. They may never have admitted this. They may have tried to keep the connection casual in their mind. They may have told themselves not to think too far ahead. Yet last night, when their friend asked what they truly wanted, an image came to them with such force that they could no longer deny it. They imagined your face years from now. Not changed in a way that frightened them, but softened by peace. They imagined sitting beside you after the chaos had passed. They imagined ordinary mornings, unfinished conversations, shared meals, familiar laughter, and the comfort of no longer needing to wonder where they belonged. They saw your hand near theirs. They saw a life that did not need to be perfect to be meaningful. And then the thought came, what if I never tell them? That was the thought that broke them. What if fear steals the future they keep imagining? What if they let outside opinions become louder than the truth in their heart? What if they spend years pretending they can move on, only to realize that the person they wanted was waiting for honesty they never received? Their friend saw the answer before your soulmate could speak it. They leaned closer and asked, "Are you crying because you think the age difference is wrong, or because you are afraid there will not be enough time?" Your soulmate covered their face. And then they whispered, "I am afraid there will never be enough time with them." My child, let those words settle deeply. They did not say there would be too much time. They did not say the connection felt inconvenient. They said there would never be enough. That is the truth heaven is revealing through this fictional message. Sometimes a person focuses on age because it gives them a safe way to talk around the deeper fear. It is easier to discuss numbers than devotion. It is easier to debate timing than to admit that someone has become irreplaceable. It is easier to say, "This is complicated," than to say, "I am terrified of losing the person who makes my future feel real." Your soulmate's friend understood this. They told them, "Then stop treating time like an enemy and start treating it like a reason to be honest." That sentence changed something. Your soulmate became very still. Their tears slowed, but the emotion did not leave. Instead, it became focused. A decision was beginning to form, not a complete decision yet, but the beginning of one. They started asking questions they had avoided for too long. What would happen if they reached out? Would you listen? Would you believe them? Would you think their confession came too late? Would you protect yourself by turning away? These questions frightened them, but for the first time, the fear of remaining silent became greater than the fear of speaking. Do not move away now, because what they told their friend next reveals why your age touched such a sensitive place inside them. Your soulmate admitted that they have watched you carry yourself with a kind of strength they do not often see. They have noticed that you do not chase attention the way others do. They have seen that you value sincerity, even when sincerity is uncomfortable. They sense that your heart is not looking for temporary excitement. It is looking for safety, loyalty, emotional presence, and someone who knows the difference between being interested in you and being committed to understanding you. That realization made them emotional because they know you cannot be approached with half-truths. You have already lost enough time to people who were uncertain. You have already given patience to those who benefited from your kindness without honoring it. You have already waited for clarity from people who preferred the comfort of ambiguity. And your soulmate fears becoming another chapter in that pattern. They told their friend, they deserve someone who does not make them question where they stand. I am afraid I have already made them question it. Their friend did not deny this. Instead, they answered, then change what happens next. Those 4 words carried more power than your soulmate expected. Change what happens next. Not the past. Not the years already lived. Not the moments already missed. Only what happens next. Heaven often works through such turning points, not by erasing what came before, but by awakening a person to what they can still choose. Last night was one of those turning points. Your soulmate entered that conversation confused, defensive, and afraid. They left it carrying a truth they can no longer ignore. Your age is not what separates them from you. Their fear is. And now that fear has been exposed. But there is still something they have not told you. Something connected to a private memory, a specific moment when your age first became emotionally significant to them. It was not when they first learned the number. It was not when someone else commented on it. It was not even when they began comparing your life experiences. It happened during a moment you may not remember clearly. There was a day when you said something simple about time. Perhaps you mentioned how quickly the years pass. Perhaps you spoke about not wanting to waste your life. Perhaps you laughed while saying that you were no longer interested in games, confusion, or empty promises. You may have spoken casually, but your soulmate heard something beneath your words. They heard urgency. Not desperation, the sacred urgency of a person who has learned that life deserves truth. That moment stayed with them. They began to wonder whether they were ready to be the kind of person who could meet you there. They wanted to be, but wanting and becoming are not the same. So they delayed. They watched. They questioned. They told themselves there would be more time to figure everything out. Last night, they realized that more time is never guaranteed. That realization is why the tears came. They were not mourning your age. They were mourning every day they had used uncertainty as an excuse. Their friend asked them whether they loved you. The question landed without warning. Your soulmate did not answer immediately. The room became so quiet that they could hear their own breathing. Their eyes moved toward the window, toward the darkness outside, as though the night itself might answer for them. They tried to use a different word. They said they cared deeply. They said the connection was unlike anything they had expected. They said you mattered more than they knew how to explain. But their friend did not let them hide behind safer language. They asked again, "Do you love them?" This time, your soulmate began to cry all over again. And through those tears, they said, "I think I have loved them longer than I have been willing to admit." Something huge shifted in that moment. For the first time, your soulmate connected their fear of time with the truth of their love. They saw that every concern about age was actually a shadow cast by a deeper attachment. People do not fear losing time with someone who means nothing. They do not imagine years ahead with someone they intend to forget. They do not cry in front of a friend because a number is inconvenient. They cry because the heart has already chosen before the mind feels ready. My child, your soulmate's mind has been trying to control a connection their heart recognizes. Their mind says, be careful. Their heart says, do not lose this. Their mind says, think about what others may say. Their heart says, think about how peaceful it feels when this person understands you. Their mind says, wait until everything is certain. Their heart says, certainty may only come after honesty. This inner struggle has been exhausting them. But last night, the balance began to change. Their friend asked what they would say if you were sitting in front of them at that very moment. Your soulmate looked down, took a slow breath, and answered as though you were truly there. They said, I would tell them that their age does not make me love them less. It makes me realize how much life they have carried without me. I would tell them I am sorry for every moment my fear made them feel unwanted. I would tell them I do not want to waste another year pretending they are not the person I think about when everything becomes quiet. Their friend listened without interrupting. Then your soulmate continued. I would tell them I am not afraid of growing older with them. I am afraid of growing older without them. Those words were the heart of the entire night. They reveal what your soulmate could not explain before. Your age brought them face to face with impermanence. It reminded them that love cannot live forever in imagined conversations. It cannot survive only through signs, glances, unfinished messages, and words that remain trapped behind pride. A real connection eventually asks for courage. And courage is what your soulmate must now choose. But do not assume everything has already been resolved. The night did not end with a perfect confession or an immediate message. Your soulmate still has one final fear, and it is the fear their friend could not completely remove. They are afraid you no longer believe them. They fear that while they were trying to understand their feelings, you were learning how to live without their presence. They worry that the very strength they admire in you may now protect you from allowing them close again. They know you can love deeply, but they also know that once your spirit becomes tired of confusion, you do not remain in the same place forever. This thought shook them more than anything else. They asked their friend, what if they have already closed the door? Their friend answered, a closed door is not always locked. But you will never know if you are too afraid to knock. Your soulmate held on to those words. A closed door is not always locked. Perhaps that is what you need to hear as well. Not every silence means the connection is dead. Not every distance means love vanished. Sometimes two people stand on opposite sides of the same door, each believing the other no longer wants it opened. Yet only truth can reveal what remains. Last night, your soulmate made a promise to their friend. A quiet promise, spoken while their eyes were still wet. They promised they would stop using age as a reason to avoid what their soul already knows. They promised they would examine whether their hesitation came from wisdom or fear. They promised they would not let another person's opinion decide the value of a bond only the two of you can truly understand. But then their friend asked one final question. A question that changed your soulmate's expression instantly. They asked, "Is age the only reason you have been holding back?" Your soulmate froze. The tears stopped. Their eyes lifted slowly, and in that moment, their friend realized there was another truth hidden beneath everything they had just confessed. A truth connected to a choice your soulmate made some time ago. A choice they never told you about. A choice that may explain why they became distant exactly when the connection seemed ready to deepen. Your soulmate whispered, "No. There is something else." Their friend leaned closer. And what your soulmate revealed next was not about the difference in years, not about the opinions of others, and not about whether they loved you. It was about a private promise they had made concerning you, a promise they now desperately want to break. But before they could explain why they made it, their phone lit up in the darkness. Your name appeared on the screen.